Hi, this is Mike Brown, owner of Death Wish Coffee Company. Welcome to Fueled by Deathcast.
I love Jeff, but sweet and high. Whoop, Mr. Motorama Coffee.
Death Wish Coffee presents Fueled by Deathcast, the world's strongest podcast. Get ready, the show's about to begin.
Welcome to Fueled by Deathcast. This is episode 152, or season 3, episode 48. And as always, I am the incredible Jeff. And I'd love it if you took a second and followed Fueled by Deathcast across all social media. That's at Fueled by Deathcast on Instagram, Twitter, and on Facebook. You get extra content and a lot of cool stuff that I'm posting every single week about the various guests and things that I get into here at Fueled by Deathcast. And if you're listening to this show, wherever you listen to podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Music, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, or watching it in full video on the Death Wish Coffee Company YouTube page, please take a second and hit the subscribe button. That's the best way to be notified when new episodes premiere and all the new stuff that's happening from Fueled by Deathcast. And all of it would be nothing without the voice of death himself, Brock Powell. Brock Powell is the voice actor on this show and 1,000 voices out there in the world. Go follow Brock across all social media at Brock Talks and at brockfox.com.
Secret code unlocked. Discount of death.
You heard the voice of death right there. For being a fan of Fueled by Deathcast, you save 12% off every single order you make at deathwishcoffee.com. Go on over to deathwishcoffee.com, pick up some of the world's strongest coffee, some of our awesome merchandise, and at checkout, type in the code discount of Jeff, all one word, and you'll save 12% off your order at deathwishcoffee.com. I want to take a second at the top of the show to shout out two friends of the show, two podcasts, because I got to be a guest on both these podcasts, and I love being a guest on a podcast because it switches it up for me. It's something different. First up is the East Coast Bow Hunting Podcast. I got to talk to D-Rock and the guys about what I do for Death Wish Coffee, what I do here at Fueled by Deathcast, and also they quizzed me a little bit on hunting, which I know absolutely nothing about, but they have a great show that brings education and entertainment to hunters and non-hunters alike, and you can subscribe to that wherever podcasts are found, the East Coast Bow Hunting Podcast. Also, I was a guest on The Leo Effects, a very cool show where Ray interviews a bunch of cool people every single week about what they do and kind of how it affects their life. And he talked to me about what I do at Death Wish and Fueled by Deathcast, and we had a lot of fun talking for a fun half hour. And you can find The Leo Effects on Anchor and also wherever podcasts are found, including Apple Podcasts. The Leo Effects. This week, I'm really excited to bring back Brian Volk-Weiss for the third time on the podcast. I got to interview Brian a couple years ago, right before his show, The Toys That Made Us, that premiered on Netflix. And it's such a passion project for him. It was a show he's always wanted to create, and he got to do it. And we basically talked about, man, if this actually does well, what is it going to look like in the future? Well, now we're in the future, and season 3 of The Toys That Made Us is about to premiere on Netflix on November 15th, and we talk about all the cool stuff that they got into, including the episodes, which will feature Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, wrestling, Power Rangers, and My Little Pony, and I'm excited to hear about all 4 of those and what they get into, what they uncover on The Toys That Made Us. And it has spawned a whole other show called The Movies That Made Us, and that'll be premiering at the end of the month of November. And the 4 movies that they've got lined up, I'm so excited for: Die Hard, Home Alone, Dirty Dancing, and Ghostbusters. That's going to be a great show, too. And we talk about some other stuff Brian's been getting into because he does head up Comedy Dynamics, which puts out some of the greatest stand-up comedy specials and other things happening with Netflix and even Disney+. I'm so excited to bring you my third interview with Brian Volk-Weiss.
The Fueled by Death guest.
Brian, I'm so happy that I got you back here for the third time. You are in very, very elite company. There's only a few people who have been a third timer on this show, which is pretty rad. And I'm really excited to just talk about what's about to hit on the 15th, the third season of Toys That Made Us, because going back to your first appearance on this show, we were talking about how that was right before season 1 started, and you were really excited about it. You had all these ideas, and we're hoping that it was going to be received well. I knew it was going to be received well. I mean, it's a killer show. But one of the coolest things is like you had all the ideas for other toy lines you wanted to do. You know, like if you could get picked up for the next season. And now in season 3, I'm seeing those happen. How exciting is this? That like it's continuing.
Magical. I'll tell you, it's so funny, man. I was at Comic-Con this year, San Diego Comic-Con, for the second time. And last year, I never thought I'd be on a panel at Comic-Con, ever.
So cool.
So last year, we were invited. We did it. It was 500 people. And it was like the greatest thing ever. Then they invited us back, which, sometimes I think it's better to be invited back than even invited the first time.
Right.
So we go back. They upgraded us to a room with 2,500 people.
Wow.
And I'm sitting up there looking at this giant room, and we did this trailer for Movies That Made Us.
Yes.
Where I don't know if you remember this or not. You might be too young. But my inspiration was, did you ever see that Clint Eastwood movie, In the Line of Fire?
Yeah, love that movie. I own it on VHS, actually.
Do you remember by any chance the trailer they did for the movie?
Ooh, that's going far back. No, not off the top of my head.
It was a brilliant trailer. I never forgot it, because what it did in the trailer was the whole trailer, if you remember, his character was, I think, partially to blame for Kennedy being assassinated.
Basically, yeah.
So the whole trailer is like, here's this guy, it's his fault JFK got killed, and the whole trailer is showing 1960, the numbers, 1963, and the whole trailer, you see this thing like turning, and you don't know what it is, and then at the end of the trailer, you realize the 6 in 1963 was rotating to become a 9.
Right.
So, because the movie came out in 1993.
Yeah.
So we did a similar gag where when we announced, and nobody even knew Toys That Made Us was coming. So we did this trailer that showed the toy, and it showed like little clips from Movies That Made Us. Mm-hmm. And then it showed the Toys That Made Us symbol, and it said, from the people that brought you the Toys That Made Us. And then we did the same gag where Toys That Made Us was like, toys.
Yep.
The word toys was like, and then movies appeared. Dude, there was over 2,500 people in that room. The cheering, and there was a pause where no one reacted. And then over 2,500 people went crazy. I literally started, like, the lights were out. I started crying.
Aww.
Back to your point at the beginning, just so you know why I'm rambling like this. Basically, from the moment within reason that the show got greenlit, up until that moment where everybody was cheering like that, I have been saying over and over again, anytime someone says what you said earlier, like, hey, we knew it would work, and yeah. The whole time I'm like, this has been surreal. This has been surreal. That's the word I've been using. After the lights came back on, and I'm literally drying my cheeks from crying, I upgraded it. And I mean this. It was an involuntary thought. It's like I'm living in a movie.
Wow.
Like, I can't believe this has happened. Like, I literally cannot believe this has happened.
It's awesome. And that's one of the coolest things of being able to talk to someone like you, because, I've been able to kind of, see you go through this journey with Toys That Made Us. And it's something that it wasn't just an idea that hit your desk and you're like, let's just try to make this happen. This was a passion project for you from the beginning, from the inception of the idea. And to, be able to pour yourself into that and to, cross your fingers and toes and hope that it works out the way that you would love for it to work out, and to now be into season 3, that just, as a fan, that makes me so happy for you. And it's also so amazing to see someone who is creative and passionate about something and have it, come to fruition like this.
Well, I'm living it, so imagine how I feel. Yeah. We're doing the show now for Disney Plus with The Rock. Would not have happened without Toys That Made Us. I mean, the entire thing happened because The Rock loved Toys That Made Us. His people reached out to us to get in business. That's how much he loved the show. And the guys running Disney Plus are all huge fans of the show. So like, it's literally changed everything about like my day-to-day business life.
That's so awesome. And going back to like season 1, obviously as a fan, that had 4 great episodes. Obviously my favorite was Star Wars because I'm such a Star Wars nerd. And season 2, my favorite episode is the most surprising episode ever is the Hello Kitty episode, because I had next to no information about that line and now know so much little nuances about how Hello Kitty came to be and learned so much from that. And I'm so excited for season 3. I mean, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is a huge part of my childhood, but wrestling, My Little Pony, and Power Rangers also too, just make this succinct thing. And again, going back to your first appearance on this show, 2 of those were things that you were surprised about. You were telling us that how surprising it was when you were looking into Power Rangers and wrestling and the core audiences behind that and the toys that came out of that. Now into season 3, are you still getting surprised by the show, by making the show?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's no way around that, because first of all, the thing that's so interesting about the toy world is, it was funny. Doing Movies That Made Us allowed me to have a point of view on Toys That Made Us because with the Movies That Made Us, it made me appreciate that like with movies, everybody always wants to talk about it. So like we would go to the actors, the producers, the directors, and they're like, I can't talk about Die Hard anymore. I've been talking about Die Hard for 40 years. Like I got nothing. But then you got someone like Jim Swearingen, who contributed as much to my childhood as anybody. All that guy wants to do is tell his secrets and his stories and everything. So everyone we talked to, especially people we hadn't talked to before, especially for the My Little Pony episode, and even to a certain extent, the wrestling episode, I mean, we got a lot of scoop. And, one of the things that was also great about season 3, if you remember, we shot seasons 1 and 2 simultaneously.
Right.
So we didn't really have any extra help in season 2 from season 1 because we did them at the same time. Season 3, a great example is Saban. Saban does not like doing interviews, period.
Wow.
His least favorite interviews to do on Earth are about Power Rangers. He's been talking about it for 30 years.
It's true.
His people reached out to us to say, how come you did My Little Pony? How come you did Hello Kitty and Star Trek and not Power Rangers? You need to do Power Rangers. So we got an interview with him without even trying, where I guarantee you, if Power Rangers was in season 1 or 2, we wouldn't have gotten Saban. He watched the show and loved it because of the comedy and the pathos. So even when we interviewed him, all his people were like, including setup, you have an hour. You have an hour, you have an hour, you have an hour. We were with him for almost 3 hours.
Wow.
Like his people would hand him notes and he'd be like, get out of here. Like he couldn't have been happier. And part of it was he loved the like storytelling style that we use. But the other thing, which was really interesting, which he told me after the interview, was he could tell we had done the research And like he was like 8 out of every 10 questions people asked, I'd never been asked before.
Wow.
And that's why it went almost 3 hours, because he'd never been asked. And the reason we were able to do that is because we do pre-interviews, for months, and we're able to, we'll talk to John Doe or Jane Doe, and, they worked on Power Rangers for 9 months in 1992, but they had a great story. So we spend the time talking to them, and then that allows us to go to him and say, hey, what about this? And he's like, I haven't thought about that in 30 years. Oh my God, I'll tell you what really happened. So we got a lot of scoop.
That's so exciting. I have to ask then, from the model you did with seasons 1 and 2, did you shoot season 4 alongside season 3?
No. Unfortunately, no.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately, no.
All right. Well, I'm fingers crossed we'll get it.
We did movies that made us simultaneously. So we did do another 8, but it was half toys, half movies.
Gotcha. And before we get into movies, I do want to mention what's amazing about Toys That Made Us, and again, premiering on Netflix on the 15th of this month. And what's amazing about that entire series is the work that you and your team put into this. It's not just, let's find the guy who created He-Man and ask him the He-Man questions that everybody asked, and we'll put that out, and hopefully people will watch it. You can tell that, you put the work behind it, and you have hours and hours and hours of footage and, interviews to really whittle down into these episodes. But what's so exciting is, and it's sitting right behind you, I see, is that you've came out with seasons 1 and 2 on Blu-ray. Which is and DVD, which is so exciting because as a giant special features fan, I know that you included a lot of special features on there too.
You have one?
I do not.
Okay, good. Do not buy one. You will have one before the weekend.
Oh, you are my hero.
Yes. No, you take care of us, man. You guys really take care of us. So it's the least we can do. We'll send you a nice little package.
We love keeping you guys caffeinated because you make some of our favorite entertainment for sure.
My wife definitely a big fan of yours.
Was it a no-brainer to put out season 1 and 2 on a collection like that with extra features, or was that like a hard road to go around? Because a lot of Netflix shows don't do that really.
Yeah, we did not have the rights initially. I had to go to Netflix, and for lack of a better word, I mean, it's funny. I was about to make a joke. I was about to say, for lack of a better word, I had to beg them, but I really didn't have to beg them. I spoke. There's a lawyer at Netflix who covers. We have. I think we have 5 shows at Netflix now. So like he covers all of our shows. He's the guy, by the way. His name's Tom. He's the guy that, and this is when I was like, wow, Netflix is amazing. When we were greenlit for season 1, we literally had to start cold calling Hasbro and Mattel and Lego, and all of them were like, yeah, give us a letter from Netflix. Yeah, sure, Netflix is doing this. And he's the guy I called. I mean, within an hour, I had a letter with a phone number, and like half the companies called him, and he was like, yeah, it's real. So I asked him if we could have the Blu-ray, DVD, the ancillary rights. He spoke to the boss and a couple other people, and I think we got the deal done in less than 2 weeks. So again, that's the beauty of Netflix, which is they're like this big, strong company, but they still, in a really good way, have a mom and pop vibe about them. So like I mean, believe me, no other company could I have gone, like I couldn't have gone to, whatever, and been like, hey, can I have the rights that I don't have? Right. And they're like, sure. So they were very generous and let us do it.
That's excellent. And just for all of our fans and listeners out there, it is chock full of extra stuff in there too, right? On the Blu-ray?
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
I would have done even more. So and by the way, I mean, I can actually tell you now it's selling really well. So yes. I can all but guarantee next year, even if there is never a season 4, which I hope there will be, but even if there's not a season 4, we would put out a new Blu-ray that includes season 3 and then we put season 3 extras. But there's a lot of extras from seasons 1 and 2. Like, it's funny you brought up my Hello Kitty, dude. We could do a 2-hour documentary about the making of that episode. I mean, it was bananas.
I believe it.
So that we will almost definitely put out another Blu-ray next year.
That's so exciting. Well, I'm so happy for the success of the toys because,
Thanks.
again, it is such a cool idea, and it comes from someone who's very passionate about it, and it shows, and that's what's really awesome. And the other side of that is the big announcement, is the movies that made us. I'm so excited for this because it's, that same model, that same level of passion and creativity behind it, but now from the movie side. And for, my listeners and viewers who might not know and might not have heard about it, Season 1 is going to include Die Hard, Ghostbusters, Dirty Dancing, and Home Alone. I gotta ask, how did you whittle down the plethora of movies to come up with those 4 to kick off this show?
So we knew it was going to be a holiday release. So, people are like, Brian, you don't shut up about RoboCop. Why didn't you do RoboCop?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, believe me, it's painful that we didn't do RoboCop. But Home Alone is holidays. Die Hard is holidays. I did Ghostbusters because it was comedy, quote unquote, horror, and also it felt right for what the others we were doing. And for me, Dirty Dancing was always a holiday movie too, because when I was growing up, I was a part of this big group of people. And every New Year's and Christmas, when the parents were getting drunk, we would be sitting there watching. The dudes would watch Star Wars, the girls would watch Dirty Dancing. So, and not separately. We'd watch one first, then the other, for years. I mean, probably between me being 10 and 18, every Christmas, every New Year's, those were the 2 movies we were watching. So that's why I chose Dirty Dancing.
I totally agree. Same kind of thing. Growing up, especially around Thanksgiving time, Dirty Dancing was not always on either television or on VHS, but it was one of my mother's favorite soundtracks. So when we would be driving to the grandparents for Christmas or for Thanksgiving or something like that, we'd be listening to that and then subsequently watch the movie, usually later that day. And so it was always around the holiday too. So that makes a ton of sense. Did you attack this show with is it the same crew from Toys doing movies?
Almost the exact same team. Robin Henry was a producer on seasons 1 and 2, and she was the showrunner for season 3. So stuff like that. Ben Frost, who edited seasons 1 and 2, he edited season 3. So same with Nick. So I'd say 90% of the team came back.
That's awesome. And all the stuff that we've talked about through the different seasons of Toys it's always about how surprising a lot of it is, either the people that you're meeting or the information. Like one of my favorite stories is when you guys went over and met everybody that literally created Transformers and were bringing out binders of things to show you guys, and just how mind-blowing it was to be in that room with all of this stuff. Did you get that same feeling on making movies? Because I only say that because, some of these movies are the most iconic movies in the world. And you said it earlier, the one guy just has been talking about Die Hard for 40 freaking years. Are you still finding new stuff, and is it still surprising?
Oh, dude, we found tons of new stuff. I'll give you I'll give you 2 different examples. So, Home Alone. Mm-hmm. I've known for a long time that Home Alone was, quote unquote, shot in a school. You read that, you're I was shot in a school.
Right.
You don't really think about it. So then we go to the school, and we're in the school, and we brought the old line producer back. And for example, we went into the swimming pool area of the school, mm-hmm. and he's like, yeah, you see that pool? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, that's where we shot. That's where we built the basement set. When Kevin is in the basement and the fireplace is We built that in the pool.
What?
And you're sitting there. So like I said, my whole life I had heard they shot it in a school, and I just never really put two and two together. But now I'm sitting here looking at a pool that's in use. The school's still being used. And you're like, that's where Kevin was talking to the fireplace? So there were a lot of great, and you're like, well, why there? Like the gymnasium is where the house was built. Like they literally they built the entire first and second stories in the gym.
Wow.
And using graphics and stuff, we like we did sort of in the Lego episode, we're able to juxtapose the set into the pool, juxtapose the set into the gym. So you could really see how crazy this was, that they shot it was literally summer break. The school wasn't being used. And John Hughes was like, why don't we just shoot it in a school? So it was stuff like that. So that was one thing. I'm actually going to tell you 3 stories.
Excellent.
If you don't mind. The other one is with Die Hard. It's funny, man. It's in my other. It's funny. Watch this. The modern technology. Watch this. So let's see here. So do you see this?
Frank Sinatra's Die Hard?
So you see that?
Yeah, I do.
So that's the actual poster that sold the show. So after season 2 did well, Netflix asked me to come in and pitch other ideas. So I pitched 2 ideas. The other one didn't go so far. But that's the poster that sold the show. And based on your reaction, you don't know why the fuck is Sinatra? Yeah. So a lot of people don't know this. And it's, again, back to your question, what did we learn and that stuff?
Yeah.
Die Hard is a sequel to a movie that came out in the 70s that starred Sinatra.
Really?
And Sinatra had the rights to play John McClane.
What?
So they had to offer it to him. He did say yes. And then he was like, yeah, you know what? I'm 74. Maybe I shouldn't be jumping through windows. And that him passing is what ultimately, of course, led to Bruce Willis.
Wow.
But that's the poster that got the show sold. And it's like little facts like that some people know that, some people don't. I'd say only 1% of Die Hard fans probably know that. By the way, the original movie, the first one that Die Hard's a sequel to, is literally it's literally like Sinatra saw Death Wish and was like, said to his agent, "You see what Bronson's doing? I want to do that."
Oh my God.
And that's what it is. It's this crazy, dark, violent movie. In the original book that Die Hard's based on, it's his daughter that he's trying to rescue, and she gets killed at the end. She literally falls off the roof of the building. So the way Hans Gruber falls off, his daughter is the one who falls off. And his wife, I think, gets killed too. It's like
gosh.
the most violent, horrible thing ever. So that was on the Die Hard thing, where it was just, we flew all over the country interviewing all these people, and you put the story together piece by piece, and then you do your best to turn it into an interesting episode. And then also on Die Hard, we had to track down what's his name? Not Kevin Reynolds. What's his name who directed Die Hard? John McTiernan.
John
So
McTiernan, yes.
I don't know if you know this or not. John McTiernan is, I'm not positive, but I think he's evading the law. There's some tax people trying to get him. So he was like, I'll meet you in Denver. After you land, text me. I'll tell you what hotel to go to. So we had to go to Denver, land, had no idea where to go. He texts us the name of a hotel. We go to the hotel. Luckily, their conference room was available. We rented it. And then he showed up an hour later, and we interviewed him.
Wow.
That kind of shit. Yeah.
Wow.
So that was the kind of stuff on movies that did not happen during toys.
That's so exciting.
Nobody was evading the law on Toys That Made Us.
No one. And I just because it's not at the tip of my tongue, what is the release date of movies?
November 29th.
November 29th. Can't wait. Right around the corner, which is so exciting. And you mentioned this earlier while we were talking, and I wanted to bring it up because we're talking on the day that the Juggernaut has been released to the masses, Disney Plus. And I know you're like me. You can't wait to clock out tonight and go home and hit play.
It's on my schedule. It's literally written on my work schedule, 8 o'clock, The Mandalorian.
Yup, me too. No joke. As soon as I get home, that's going to be the first thing I do. And you said that you're going to be working on a show with The Rock that came from, his love of toys. Can you talk about that at all?
So, so funny, man. I'm online at LAX at 5 in the morning, and I get a text from the head of our accounting department, Daisy, and I'm freaked out because she never texts me at 5 in the morning.
Yeah,
head's accounting, so I'm like, oh fuck, we're someone steal all our money,
right?
But she had texted me a screenshot of The Rock's Instagram account, and which sucks because I already followed him, so Daisy does not think. She didn't think I'm cool enough to follow The Rock. What she was saying. But no, The Rock posted a picture. He was sitting on his private jet, and he's like, I just saw Toys That Made Us, loved it. Then a couple of weeks later, I got a call from a guy named Brian Gewirtz, who runs or co-runs The Rock's company. And he's like, hey, man, we love the show. Love to come in and meet. Came in, we met. We actually took out another idea first that is not sold yet. And then we were I was separately meeting with Disney Plus because they love Toys That Made Us. And then I was like, well, why don't we do something about the parks? And they were like, we'd love to do that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm talking to The Rock. What if we get him involved too? Because it's Jungle Cruise. And they were like, love that. And that's what happened. Yeah, it just got announced a couple weeks ago. But we've been working on it for 4 or 5 months. We start shooting in about 3 weeks.
And
all 5 parks.
What's the name of it again?
Right now, it's called Behind the Attraction.
Excellent. And that's going to be, you guys are going to start shooting, and that's going to be on Disney Plus. That's what's cool about this platform, this juggernaut, I'm going to call it again, because it comes out of the gate with just everything under the sun that, you and I are going to want to watch, again, The Mandalorian and everything else. But, Disney's just got this wealth to be able, and not just monetarily, but this wealth of creativity to be able to be like, let's just keep putting out incredible content. I love Disney parks, and I love learning about how they were made. There's a great, and I'm sure you've seen it, but one of the original documentaries about Disney buying the land and how, he had to fight with Florida and California over all that. And I remember watching that on the Wild World of Disney, actually. And it was so interesting because, as a kid, you go to the Magic Kingdom and you're like, this is the most magical place on earth. And you never think of, the countless hours of manpower and all of the crazy legal battles and everything that had to go into making every attraction. And it's so interesting. So to know that you're helming something like that, I'm so excited.
First of all, you're very kind. Thank you. Second of all, dude, I touched with my own hands the founding contract of Disney.
Whoa.
They opened up a safe, they took it out, I got to see that. I got to see the first ticket ever sold for Disneyland. We do this thing here. Is this video or just audio?
This is video.
It is, so it's going to air video too?
Yep.
All right, so I never do this. I'm going to do it twice in one interview.
Yes, excellent. I love technology.
So we tend to find an image and put it in every editing bay, in every office for every show we do.
Uh-huh.
Can you read that?
Yep, Pepsi Cola exhibit, NYWF 64 to 65 publicity.
What do you think that means? What do you think that is?
I don't know. I don't know. NYWF is tripping me up.
That's New York's World's Fair.
Oh, so it was a Pepsi Cola exhibit at the World Fair in 65?
Yes. Do you know what that Pepsi Cola exhibit is called now?
Disneyland?
It's a small world after all.
Wow.
Small World started off as a Pepsi promotion pavilion. When it was over, Walt had negotiated the rights to keep it. He shipped it to Anaheim. And literally, if you go to Disneyland and you go on It's a Small World, that's literally the same thing that was at the World's Fair in '64.
That's incredible.
We saw panels, like we got to go behind the scenes and see everything. Like on some of the actual panels in the ride that's been there for 50 years or whatever, you could see written in the back, New York World's Fair / Pepsi. Yeah. So that's similar to toys that made us. It's these little details, man, that you can extrapolate so much emotion out of. That's like your face seeing that Frank Sinatra was John McClane once.
Yeah.
It's the same face when I told you that Pepsi thing it's a small world. That's what we're gonna do.
That's so incredible. And that, again, stems from the success of an idea like toys because, you know, we live in a world now where everything is so consumable and so digestible and everything, you know, especially nostalgia isn't just nostalgia isn't just something that is around and everywhere. It has kind of been lost on people because, and we talked about this on an earlier podcast where nostalgia has become almost commonplace. And people are like, oh, yeah, you know, the 80s was a great decade. That existed. And nobody ever really thinks about, yes, it did exist. And how did it exist? How did these things actually become to be that we revere so much today? You know, and to have a show like Toys or movies or this incredible show with The Rock on Disney Plus about the parks, it really opens that door and allows you to appreciate what you're nostalgic about. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the key to nostalgia that a lot of people forget or don't realize, it's all about context. You need to set up the story around the story to make it all work and have emotion. Like, everyone always says to me, well, not everybody, but some people say to me, toys have made us so funny, it's so funny. But the truth of the matter is, the comedy works because there's also a lot of pathos. There's also a lot of drama, you know, watching these people, you know, fight and then become friends again. Yeah. Watching everything fail. The company's about to go bankrupt. And Lego turns it around to become the biggest toy company in the world. Like, that's a lot of drama. It's really dark at certain places, but the comedy keeps the context in place so you don't feel like you're watching like I've seen a couple toy documentaries and they treat toys like it's the Byzantine Empire.
Right.
And it's like, no one wants to see. I'm not going to pick a toy because then I'll make people angry. But you don't want to see Toy X treated like the Byzantine Empire. Right. Toy X it's a toy. So you got to have fun with it. Yeah. And it's the same thing we did with movies that made us, you know, we have fun with it. There's a lot of emotion. I predict people will be crying at the end of Die Hard and Ghostbusters and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, man. That we are starting to hear that some people who have seen all 12 consider Turtles to be the best episode. So I don't want to jinx. I don't want to do any spoilers or anything. But and I was not a huge Turtles fan. So the fact that Turtles may have beaten Star Wars, I'm not sure how I feel about that.
Oh man, I've been so excited for Turtles because I that was a lot of my childhood. They were such a force that was that perfect union between, you know, cartoon and comic and then also the toy industry. It was that perfect embrace of all of that, and I can't wait to see that episode. And I just want to end by saying, you know, like for everybody who's watching and listening, to reiterate one more time, on November 15th, Toys That Made Us 3, Season 3 comes out. I cannot wait. Season 1 and 2 is still up on Netflix for anybody who might be just tuning in for the first time. You said November, I'm going to get it wrong, 29th?
29th.
29th is The Movies That Made Us. I can't wait for that. And then all of the stuff with The Rock on Disney Plus, hopefully in 2020. And I mean, gosh, follow Brian and everything he does. Like, everything you guys are doing at Comedy Dynamics is just amazing. You guys put out some of the greatest comedy specials around. I mean, we didn't even touch upon like all of the big news on you. You're so good at bringing back nostalgia and really opening that world to it. And now you have your hand in it. You're executive producing Mad About You. Like, I mean, that's just mind blowing in itself, because what a staple of 90s sitcomery, I guess you could call it, and now you're bringing it back to the fold.
Dude, it's like I said earlier, man. It's like I'm living in a movie. I mean, that's what it feels like. It's really wild.
Well,
really wild.
I love watching your movie, and I am such a fan. I can't thank you enough, Brian, for taking time and talking with me for the third time on Fueled by Deathcast. It's always a pleasure having you on, and I can't wait for number 4.
Thank you very much.
This has been Fueled by Deathcast, a Death Wish Coffee Company podcast production. Thanks for listening.